Again, I welcome you to NST 305, Human Behavior in Health and Illness. Today we'll be considering study session 5, which is patterns of marriage and childbearing practices. Throughout history, family structure has affected many children's lives in important ways. The size and structure of the family and its capacity to sustain itself has played a critical role in how children are raised, their level of formal education, and whether or not they participate in the labor force. The principal family structures are nuclear, extended, and blended families. The purpose of this study session is therefore to help the students understand the patterns of marriage and childbearing practices in nursing. When you have studied this session, you should be able to identify the variables influencing family structure, explain the child-rearing practices, and list and explain the types of child-rearing styles. Patterns of family structure. Family structures, as previously mentioned, are usually nuclear, extended, or blended in nature. Important variables that influences this structure includes 1. Age at marriage. This is an important variable influencing family structure. Early marriages permit a longer cycle of fertility than late marriages, while late marriages for women was a means of restricting the number of births per family. Late marriages for men may or may not have much effect on the family's fertility rate. It, however, does interfere with the number of years fathers will be available to their children. Number 2, life expectancy. One or both parents could die during the child's lifetime, creating the potential for economic hardship. There are a large percentage of orphans, many of whom have been given out to other families as servants, laborers, or apprentices. They live with their employers rather than their own families. The death of a parent also brings about remarriage, new self-siblings, and the constitution of a blended family. Family proximity is also another important variable that influences family structure. During the early modern period, another important variable that influenced family structure was the family's proximity to a means of production and its ability to sustain itself. Climate, geography, the productivity of the land, and the strength of the labor market all shaping family structure and consequently childhood experience in important ways. And the last but not the least is the child's knowledge. Another way family structure could affect childhood is that the quality of a child's knowledge is directly affected by whether or not he or she is expected to contribute to the financial well-being of the family and whether he or she would inherit land. The latter determined whether or not marriage would be possible. In short, family structure and the children's ability to remain living with their parents depended heavily on the availability of economic resources and occupation. Differences between a nuclear, extended, and blended family. In nuclear families, parents normally assume responsibility for raising their children. Here, children have economic and emotional relationships with their parents alone, while in extended and blended families, other adults beside the parents might be involved in the lives of the children. That might include uncles, aunties, and grandparents in multi-generational extended families. In blended families, however, where a parent has been married and constituted a new family, children might be raised by both a step-parent and a parent. Generally, in extended and blended families, the network of ties is potentially much larger. The process of personality development. The key factors associated with child-rearing styles include warmth, rules, behavior, control, supportive responsiveness, and expectations. Parenting styles affect children's traits such as achievement, independence, curiosity, self-reliance, self-control, and friendliness. The four main categories of child-rearing styles are 1. Authoritarian style, 2. Authoritative style, 3. Permissive or indulgent style, and last of all, the uninvolved or disengaged style. The first is the authoritarian style. The authoritarian child rearing emphasizes obedience above all. Sensitivity to the individual child or circumstance is not part of the authoritarian approach. Authoritarian parents aim to control children's behavior through constant direction and swift consequences. Children raised in this style are expected to obey parents regardless of the situation, as negotiation and discussion are not tolerated. This style is characterized by rigid adherence to rules regardless of whether those expectations are realistic, and such children tend to rely on authority records to make decisions for themselves. And they also have higher rates of depression, anxiety, and poor self-esteem. The authoritative style. The authoritative child rearing emphasizes warmth and responsiveness to children's needs, but parents also maintain high behavioral expectations. Parents who raise their children in this style are set to set limits and allow natural consequences as a means of modifying the children's behavior. They are sensitive to their child's point of view and temperament, and they adjust consequences or expectations accordingly. Then the permissive or indulgent style. The permissive child rearing involves lots of love, support, and sensitivity, but parents have few expectations and make few demands of their children. Limits and rules are poorly enforced, and children are given significant freedom to do as they like. Parents don't correct poor behavior through discipline or instruction, and they frequently indulge the child's demand regardless of behavior. Children raised in this style tend to have high self-esteem, but they are less likely to be achievement-oriented and more likely to encounter problems with drugs and alcohol. Then lastly, the uninvolved style. This child rearing style is the most harmful. Not only is parental warmth and responsiveness absent, but few or no expectations are placed on the child. Children learn not to rely on parents for anything. Even in extreme cases, this can include basic needs such as food and clothing. Parents remain unresponsive to their children, showing little or no affection or encouragement. Such children are most likely to have poor self-esteem and lack the ability to cooperate. We've come to the end of this study session. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next class.